Welcome to the next session of Our Story, our journey through the Scriptures, looking at God's people-making process through the ages, looking at the story of God's work with our spiritual ancestors and seeing how their story really is our story. This week we're moving forward in time about 40 years. You remember last week we left off with Moses leading the people through the great exodus out of slavery in Egypt into now the Sinai wilderness. It was on Mount Sinai where God delivered to Moses the 10 commandments and gave moral guidance and religious law to the people of Israel. They're really now becoming more and more a nation. They have a shared story and history with the Exodus, and now they have a shared law and moral code that's developing during this 40 years in the wilderness. The scripture lesson for this particular session we've chosen is from Deuteronomy chapter 6. Imagine yourself, if you will, on the banks of the Jordan River with Moses and the Hebrew people preparing to make the final descent off of the mountains through the Jordan River and into their promised land. In Deuteronomy we see Moses gather the people, and in my own imagination I imagine that he's drawing the people around him almost like we would in our own families before going on some great event, just to say, all right, one more time. Let's remember this, let's review this, let's go over this one more time before we get there. Like children going into the restaurant to eat. Let's remember one more time to use our best manners. Or you may think of other illustrations or examples from your own life. Moses gathers the people and says, you know, one more time, when we go into this land that God is giving us, this land across the Jordan, let's remember what's important. And it is at this stage then in the journey, in this stage in the life of the Hebrew people, that we read the great Shema from Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting with the 4th verse. Let me read that for us today. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord alone. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Keep these words that I'm commanding you today in your heart. Recite them to your children and talk about them when you're at home and when you're away and when you lie down and when you rise. Bind them as a sign on your hand. Fix them as an emblem on your forehead. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. One more time, people of Israel, as we prepare to go across the Jordan River into our promised land, remember that the Lord is God. The Lord alone. Other people have other gods that they may follow, but the Lord is our God, and the Lord is our only God. Love the Lord. Love the Lord with all of your being. And love the Lord with all of your doing. And never forget. Don't let your family forget. Don't let the next generation forget. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all of your strength. May it be so.